Welcome everyone to this video where I'll be not comparing, but showing you how universal Jinhsi's main weapon will be in the future. Now currently there's only not currently, there's actually two people in the game that can take advantage of the sword. All the Touchy DPS players, click off the video now. But it's going to be, when we get there you'll see. But the main stat, this weapon is 24.3% crit rate, a base attack of 588, and it gives an additional 12% damage bonus to all elements. So it's already very universal. And this perk is basically 48% skill damage bonus once you pop your skill, and then you'll get that buff for 2.5 seconds after. This weapon is the exact same as Jiyan's weapon. So the only difference between them is that one will buff up heavy attack by 48, the other one will buff skill by 48. So if you're playing a character that says, say, uses ult damage, you can put on both of these weapons on that character and you'll get the exact same performance. Here is each character and how much of the damage they will do through skills. So Calcharo does little to nothing through skills, and Jiyan also does little to nothing from his skill. And Jinhsi does a bunch, but that's not on Pride Win. Now I'm going to try to walk you guys through how I got this, so maybe you can test your own damage numbers. I've gotten a few comments of people asking me how I do it. I'm going to make a more in-depth one, but to show you here's my base attack. How I get my base attack is I take a level 90 Jinhsi, a level 90 weapon, I add those numbers together, and I'm left with 1001. Now this has to go through all my damage bonus right here. So I take 1001, multiply that by 1.5, which is my attack, 50%, and then I add my flat, and I get this number. Now here is the main, an easier way you can actually just get this is if you look in game at your character's attack, the game does this all for you automatically. But assuming you're going to get some more attack bonuses during gameplay, such as the Moonlit Cloud set, or getting healed and you have the healing set on, you're going to get more attack. So that's how you would do it. For my crit rate and crit damage, I've included Jinhsi's free 8% crit. I've included the crit rate from these weapons, any main stat of an artifact, and assuming you have 90 crit value from artifacts as well, as from substats. And this will be the best way. You can split your crit rate to crit damage, a 1 to 2 perfectly. And then I also made up some stats. Usually you get around 100% damage bonus if you're running double damage bonus on your 3 cost, plus you're using a 5 piece, you get around 100% damage, and then 20% from substats as well, to basic, heavy, skill, ult. Now, the way you put this in an equation is you take the motion value of the skill, Swin is a heavy attack, that has to go through my attack number here, then I'll multiply that to the crit value. Where you can get crit value is by 1 plus your crit rate times your crit damage, and you will get this number here. You cannot look at the crit damage in game, and if you are, you're going to need to subtract 100 from it, and then you will get your actual crit damage number. So then this needs to go through the enemy's defense. There's a whole calculation to get the enemy's defense, but most of the time you can put 0.5 and you will get a pretty accurate result. It won't be 100% accurate, but it'll be accurate enough because it'll either go up by 0.1 or go down by 0.1, but it'll always be roughly in this area. This now has to go through our damage bonus, which I put over here. And if you take a look, this is a heavy attack on the Verdant. So this will be 112 for element bonus, plus 20% here, and then an additional 48 from the weapon. We get 180. And then this is going to the enemy's defenses, and every enemy has 10% resistance to elements. So that's why I have it going through 0.9. This is a very simple equation that you should quickly show you and compare two things. Normally you'll have a deepen in here as well, and your numbers won't always be ending with a 0. Right, there'll be a lot more numbers to it. And we end up hitting this number here, and this is average. Right? To know how much you'll do on a crit, instead of putting your crit value here, you put your crit damage number here. So I would replace this. I put 1.293. That's how you'll see a crit. This is average. And then to see a non-crit, just completely remove this number. And then we do this basically for this weapon and this weapon. We get this number, this number. This ends up being a 20% 0.7 damage increase here. While it's the same thing, the same buff happens on skill. Since you're just moving that 48% damage bonus from here, you're moving it over here. That's all these weapons do. Other than that, everything is going to be the exact same on these two. Calcharo is when things get different because he actually is not using Verdant. His best is going to be the standard banner weapon. So the standard banner weapon has no crit rate on it. It has no crit value whatsoever. It just gives you a bunch of attack. That is why it's going to fall off on anything that isn't an ultimate. This thing gives you a bunch of attack, and then the 21% alt damage bonus is what it's basically doing, and some energy recharge, which is, you won't be able to see on a damage chart. But crit rate for this weapon is going to be 64 over 129, same as the last one. Calcharo also has 8% built in this kit, or 16% crit value built in this kit. While this weapon takes advantage of that as well. You get up to anywhere from a 52.5 to 105. That's the best crit value if you're getting 90 crit value from substats. I then have the elemental damage bonus for this one, which would be 112, and for this one it would be 100. Alt damage bonus is included in here as well. So over here it's 2.32, here it's 2.41. Right. And then once we do everything, we end up seeing that this weapon is going to enhance our skill. Our basic attack is going to get more as well, and our ultimate is going to do a little bit less. But Calcharo is a alt heavy character, so this 4.5 is actually desired on the character. And Jiyan is in the same boat as Jinhsi, where he just wants to do heavy attack instead of skill. So now this weapon is going to, of course, be better. And here's all the numbers for you guys to see. So to summarize it, this weapon is going to buff up any character who wants to use skills. Well, so you can, to summarize it actually, think of it as a Jiyan weapon. It's Jiyan's weapon, but instead of buffing heavy attack, it'll buff skill. Even if you ignore the part where it buffs skill, you're getting a high base attack, you're getting a crit rate main stat, and 12% damage bonus to everything. So it's very universal. If you didn't get Jiyan's weapon and you're looking for a semi-universal Rod Blade, hers is not a bad option. I think that you can still get better than it. Like say one that has a perk that instead of giving you a damage bonus specifically to one part of your kit, you'll get instead an attack bonus. For an example, let's look at Yinlin's weapon. Her weapon gives you an attack bonus as the perk, you get crit rate as the main stat, and you also get a damage bonus to everything as well. Her weapon is the ideal universal weapon. But I hope I can make this kind of clear to you guys and everything, and maybe you can make your own judgments on the weapon. Yeah, with that being said, peace out.